She stood there in front of 73 people, champagne glass raised, and said the words that turned our silver anniversary into a funeral. 25 years is enough. I want someone younger. I want you out of the apartment tomorrow. The ballroom went quiet. Not silent. Quiet. The kind of quiet where you can still hear ice melting in drinks and someone's fork scraping a plate. I stood at the edge of our table, holding a slice of cake I'd never eat, and for a moment I didn't breathe. I didn't move. I just watched her mouth curve into something that wasn't quite a smile. It was satisfaction. And that's when I realized she'd been rehearsing this. Before I continue, you need to subscribe, because what I'm about to reveal will shock you. Hit that subscribe button now. Before I dive in, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. And if you enjoy stories like this, please like and subscribe. It helps me keep sharing more. My name is William. I'm 71 years old. I've been called Grandpa by 8 people for the last decade, and I wear that name better than I ever wore a suit. But back then, standing in that rented ballroom with ivory tablecloths and gold-rimmed plates, I was just a husband, a man who thought love could outlast anything. I was wrong. The apartment she wanted me out of, the one she announced I'd be leaving like I was some tenant behind on rent, was mine. Fully mine. Bought with money I earned before we ever met. Paid off 5 years into our marriage. She knew that. She had always known that. But she said it anyway, in front of our children, our grandchildren, her sister, my brother, and a crowd of half-strangers who came for free food and gossip. And she got both. I looked at her. Really looked. Her hair was still the same shade of auburn she'd been dyeing it since her 40s. Her dress was new, something sleek and black that I'd never seen before. She'd lost weight. I hadn't noticed until that moment. She wasn't looking at me. She was looking past me, toward the back of the room, where a man I didn't recognize stood near the bar. Younger, maybe 50. Tanned. Smiling like he'd just won something. That's when it clicked. This wasn't impulsive. This wasn't a breakdown or a cry for help. This was planned. Calculated. She had invited him here. To our anniversary. To watch her throw me away like 25 years was nothing more than a bad investment. I set the cake down. My hands were steady. That surprised me. I thought I'd shake. I thought I'd feel rage or humiliation or heartbreak. But what I felt was something colder. Clarity. I walked to the microphone. She saw me coming. Her face changed. Just a flicker. Confusion, maybe a little fear. She hadn't expected me to move. She thought I'd fold. Maybe cry. Maybe leave quietly like a good man should. But I wasn't that man anymore. I took the microphone from the DJ's stand. The room was still quiet. Someone coughed. A baby whimpered somewhere near the back. I didn't look at her. I looked at them. All of them. And I spoke. My voice came out calm, measured, almost kind. I said, "Thank you all for coming tonight. It means a lot to celebrate 25 years with people we love. Or thought we loved." I paused. Let that settle. My wife just made an announcement, a bold one. She wants me out of the apartment. Tomorrow. She wants someone younger, someone new, and I respect that. Another pause. I could feel her staring at me now. But there's something she forgot to mention. That apartment? It's mine. Bought in 1989. Deeds in my name. Always has been. I heard a gasp. Maybe 2. Someone laughed. Nervous? Uncomfortable. I continued. So here's what's going to happen. Tomorrow morning, I'll be at that apartment, and I'll be changing the locks. If she wants to leave, she's welcome to. If she wants to stay, we can talk. But she won't be deciding who goes and who stays, not anymore. I set the microphone down. The feedback screeched for half a second. Then silence. She didn't move, didn't speak. Her mouth opened once, then closed. Her face went from smug to pale in under 5 seconds. The man at the bar, her younger someone, looked like he wanted to dissolve into the floor. I walked past her, past the tables, past the cake we were supposed to cut together, past my daughter, who had tears in her eyes but wasn't stopping me, past my son, who looked like he didn't know whether to clap or call the police. I walked out of that ballroom and into the parking lot, and I didn't look back. The night air was cool. October in the city always smelled like rain about to happen. I stood by my car for a long time, keys in hand, staring at nothing. My chest felt tight, not painful, just full, like something had been living inside me for years and finally broke free. I didn't cry. I wanted to, but I didn't. What I did was get in my car, drive home, and sit in the apartment that was mine. I made tea. Chamomile. I sat in the armchair by the window and looked out at the street below. People walking dogs. A couple holding hands. Life continuing like nothing had happened. But something had happened. I'd spent 25 years building a life with someone who saw me as furniture. Functional. Familiar. Easily replaced when the style changed. And I'd let her. That was the part that hurt. Not what she said, but that I'd made it possible. I'd been so focused on keeping peace, on being steady, on being the rock, that I forgot rocks get walked on. Rocks get buried. I sipped my tea. It was too hot. Burned my tongue a little. I didn't care. I thought about the man at the bar, the one she brought to humiliate me. I wondered how long she'd known him. Weeks? Months? Did she laugh with him the way she used to laugh with me? Did she tell him I was boring? Predictable? Old? Probably. I finished my tea, set the cup down, stood up. There was a drawer in the kitchen I hadn't opened in years. Old papers, documents, things I'd filed away and forgotten. I opened it now. Inside was the deed to the apartment, my name. Solo. Just like I'd said. But underneath it was something else. A letter, handwritten, dated 3 years ago. From her. I didn't remember seeing it before. Maybe I had and blocked it out. Maybe she'd hidden it and I'd found it once and put it back. I don't know. But I opened it, and what I read made my hands shake for the first time that night. It wasn't an apology. It wasn't a confession. It was worse. The letter was addressed to him, the man at the bar. His name was typed at the top in her handwriting, neat, slanted, deliberate. Marcus. I read it 3 times before my brain would accept what my eyes were seeing. She'd written it 3 years ago. 3 years. That meant our 22nd anniversary, the one where we went to that little bed and breakfast upstate, the one where she cried in my arms and told me she'd never been happier. That was a lie. All of it. She'd already met him. Already decided I wasn't enough. Already started planning her exit while I was buying her flowers and booking rooms with fireplaces. The letter wasn't long, maybe 200 words, but every sentence was a knife. She told him she loved him. She told him she was tired of pretending. She told him she was waiting for the right moment. The right moment. Like discarding a husband was just a matter of timing. Like I was a dish she'd let sit too long and now it had gone cold. She ended the letter with a promise. Soon, my love. Soon we'll be free. I folded it back up, carefully, like it was something fragile. But my hands weren't steady anymore. They trembled, not from sadness, from something sharper, something that tasted like metal in the back of my throat. I sat back down in the armchair. The street outside was darker now. The couple with the dog had gone home. A few scattered lights in windows across the way. Normal people living normal lives. People who weren't holding evidence of a 3-year betrayal in their kitchen at midnight. I thought about calling someone. My brother, maybe. My daughter. But what would I say? What words could possibly fit around this? So I didn't call anyone. I just sat there, holding that letter, breathing slow, trying to figure out who the hell I'd been married to. Because the woman I thought I knew wouldn't do this. The woman I thought I knew cried at weddings, baked bread on Sundays, held my hand during thunderstorms because she hated loud noises. That woman didn't exist. Or maybe she did once, and I missed the moment she turned into someone else. Either way, I'd been living with a stranger, sleeping next to her, trusting her, building a life with her, and she'd been counting down the days until she could walk away. 3 years. I stood up, paced the apartment. It felt smaller suddenly, like the walls had moved in while I wasn't looking. I went to the bedroom. Our bedroom. Except it wasn't ours anymore. It was just a room. A bed. Sheets that smelled faintly like her perfume. I opened her closet. Half empty. I hadn't noticed that either. When had she moved things out? Slowly, over weeks? Or all at once, in some secret rush while I was at the hardware store or visiting my brother? I pulled open a drawer. Empty. Another one. Empty. She'd been packing. Quietly. Methodically. Getting ready to vanish. But she wanted the apartment. That was the part that didn't make sense. If she'd been planning this for 3 years, why announce it publicly? Why humiliate me in front of everyone? Why not just leave quietly, take her things, and go? Unless it wasn't about leaving. It was about winning. About taking something from me. About making sure I knew I'd lost. She didn't just want out. She wanted me destroyed. I went back to the kitchen, pulled out my phone, opened the contacts, found her name, pressed call. It rang 4 times. Then voicemail. Her voice, bright and sweet, asking me to leave a message. I didn't. I hung up, tried again. Same thing. She wasn't picking up. She was probably still at the venue. Probably with him. Probably laughing about what she'd done. About the look on my face when she said it. About how easy it was to break me in front of 73 witnesses. I set the phone down. Then I did something I hadn't done in years. I opened the bottom drawer of my desk, the one I never touched, the one that held things from before her, before us. I pulled out an old notebook, leather-bound, worn at the edges. I used to write in it when I was younger. Thoughts, plans, dreams. I'd stopped after we got married. She said it was silly, said I didn't need to write things down anymore because I had her to talk to. So I stopped. I opened it now. The last entry was dated 1998, the year we got married. I'd written one sentence. Today I married the love of my life. I stared at it for a long time. Then I picked up a pen, and I wrote, Today I buried her. I didn't mean it literally, but it felt true. The woman I'd married was gone. Maybe she'd never existed. Maybe I'd invented her, built her out of hope and need and loneliness. Maybe I'd been so desperate to believe in something good that I ignored every sign that it wasn't real. Or maybe she'd just changed, slowly, quietly, until the person I loved became someone I didn't recognize. Either way, she was gone, and I was still here. I kept writing. Not a plan, not a strategy, just thoughts, raw and unfiltered. I wrote about the letter, about the man at the bar, about the way she looked at me when I took the microphone, about how I didn't feel sad. I felt angry. No, not angry. Angry was too small. I felt volcanic, like something deep inside me that had been dormant for decades just woke up and realized it had been buried alive. I wrote for an hour, maybe more. When I finally stopped, my hand ached. The notebook was full of words I'd never say out loud, words I didn't even know I felt until they appeared on the page. I closed it, set it aside, looked at the clock. 2:47 a.m. I should have been tired, but I wasn't. I was awake, more awake than I'd been in years. I went back to the kitchen, made coffee, strong, black. I didn't usually drink coffee this late. But tonight wasn't usual. Tonight was the night my life split in half. Before the microphone. After the microphone. I drank the coffee standing up, looking out the window, watching the city sleep, wondering how many other people out there were awake like me, holding secrets, nursing wounds, trying to figure out how to survive the person they loved most. If you're still with me, you won't believe what happens next. Drop a comment below with your country so I know you're here. My phone buzzed. A text. From her. I stared at the screen. Didn't open it. Not yet. I wanted to. God, I wanted to. But I also didn't. Because once I read it, I'd have to respond, I'd have to engage, I'd have to step back into the war she'd started. So I left it, let it sit there, unread, buzzing like a trapped fly. I finished my coffee. Then I opened the text. It said, "We need to talk." That's it. 4 words. No apology. No explanation. Just a demand. Like I owed her a conversation after what she'd done. Like she still had the right to my time, my energy, my mercy. I typed back, "No, we don't." Sent it. Put the phone face down on the counter. It buzzed again immediately. I didn't look. It buzzed 3 more times in the next 5 minutes. I didn't look. Then it stopped. The silence that followed was the loudest thing I'd ever heard. I went to the bedroom. Not to sleep, just to sit. On the edge of the bed, in the dark. I thought about tomorrow. About changing the locks like I'd said I would. About what she'd do when she realized I meant it. Would she cry? Beg? Threaten? Or would she just leave? Take her younger someone and disappear into whatever fantasy she'd been building while I wasn't looking? I didn't know. And for the first time in 25 years, I didn't care. I lay back on the bed, fully clothed, staring at the ceiling. There was a crack up there I'd been meaning to fix for months, maybe years. I never got around to it. Always something more important. Always something she needed. Always something pulling me away from the things I wanted to do. I looked at that crack and decided I'd fix it tomorrow. After I changed the locks. After I reclaimed my space. After I stopped being the man who let himself get erased. I closed my eyes. But I didn't sleep. Because somewhere in the building I heard a door open. Footsteps in the hall. Getting closer. And I knew, without looking, that she'd come home. The footsteps stopped outside the door. I heard the jingle of keys, metal scraping against metal. She was trying to get in, quietly. Like maybe I was asleep and she could slip inside unnoticed. Like maybe we could pretend tonight never happened and go back to whatever hollow routine we'd been living. The lock clicked. The door opened. I didn't move. I stayed on the bed, eyes open, staring at that crack in the ceiling. I heard her pause in the doorway, sensed her looking toward the bedroom, waiting, maybe hoping I'd call out, ask where she'd been, give her an opening to explain or lie or do whatever she'd planned on the drive over. I didn't say a word. She closed the door. Soft. Careful. I heard her purse hit the counter, her shoes coming off, the fridge opening, the clink of a bottle. Wine, probably. She always drank wine when she was nervous. I listened to her move through the apartment like a ghost haunting a place that used to be hers. The couch creaked. She'd sat down. I imagined her there in the dark living room, glass in hand, rehearsing what she'd say when she finally worked up the courage to come talk to me. Minutes passed. 5, 10, maybe 15. Then I heard her stand. Footsteps again. Slower this time, heading toward the bedroom. She appeared in the doorway, backlit by the dim light from the kitchen. I could see her outline, the shape of her, but not her face, not her eyes. Maybe that made it easier. For both of us. William. Her voice was small. Nothing like the voice that had announced my eviction in front of 73 people. Are you awake? I didn't answer right away. Let the question hang there. Let her feel what it's like to speak into silence and get nothing back. I know you're awake, she said. Softer. Almost a whisper. What do you want? My voice came out flat. No anger. No pain. Just empty. She stepped into the room. I could smell her perfume, the expensive kind she only wore for special occasions. Our anniversary. Or apparently for him. She sat on the edge of the bed. Not close, but not far enough. I didn't mean for it to happen like that, she said. Like what? Tonight. The way I said it, in front of everyone. She stopped, breathed. I panicked. I almost laughed. Panic. Like this was some spur-of-the-moment decision. Like she hadn't been writing love letters to another man for 3 years. You panicked, I repeated. Still flat. Still empty. Yes. For 3 years. Silence. I sat up, turned to look at her. She was staring at her hands, twisting her wedding ring, the one I'd saved for 6 months to buy, the one she wore while writing those letters. You found it, she whispered. I found it. She nodded. Slow. Like she'd been expecting this. Like she'd known the letter was there and had been waiting for me to discover it. Maybe she'd left it on purpose. Maybe this was part of the plan too. William, don't. I stood up. Walked to the window. Put distance between us. Don't explain. Don't apologize. Don't insult me with excuses. I wasn't going to. I turned. Looked at her. Really looked. In the dim light I could see her face now. She'd been crying. Mascara smudged under her eyes. Lipstick gone. She looked older. Tired. Human. Then what are you doing here? I asked. I live here. No, you don't. Her jaw tightened. There it was. The flash of the woman from the ballroom. The one who'd smiled while destroying me. You can't just kick me out, William. I have rights. Rights. I said the word slowly. Tasted it. You have rights. After what you did tonight. After 3 years of lying. After parading your lover in front of our family. You think you have rights. It's complicated. It's not. She stood. Crossed her arms. Defense mode. You don't understand what it's been like. Being married to you. You're so steady. So predictable. I felt like I was suffocating. There it was. The truth. Finally. Not an apology. An accusation. I was the problem. My stability. My reliability. The things I thought were virtues. The things I thought she valued. Those were my crimes. So you found someone exciting, I said. Someone younger. Someone who makes you feel alive. Yes. She said it without hesitation. Without shame. Yes, William. He makes me feel alive. Something you haven't done in years. The words should have hurt. Should have cut deep. But they didn't. Because I realized something standing there in that bedroom with a woman I no longer knew. I didn't care. Not about Marcus, not about her feelings, not about whether she felt alive or dead or anything in between. I cared about the apartment, about my name on the deed, about the life I'd built that she was trying to steal. Get out, I said. Quiet. Calm. She blinked. What? Get out. Tonight. Now. Take whatever you can carry. The rest I'll have packed and sent wherever you're staying. You can't do that. I can. I am. This is my apartment, my name, my property. You want someone younger? Go be with him, but not here. Not in my space. Her face changed. Shock melted into rage. You bastard. You self-righteous bastard. You think you're so noble, you think you're the victim here? I don't think anything, I'm just telling you to leave. I gave you 25 years. You gave me 3 years of lies and 22 years of whatever came before that. I don't know anymore. Maybe it was all lies, maybe you were always this person and I was too stupid to see it. She stepped closer, eyes bright with fury, or tears. Hard to tell. You're going to regret this, William. You're going to wake up tomorrow and realize you threw away the best thing that ever happened to you. I looked at her. This woman I'd loved. This stranger I'd married. And I felt nothing. If you were the best thing, I said quietly, then I've wasted my whole life. She flinched. Actually flinched. Like I'd hit her. Good. She grabbed her purse, shoved her feet into her shoes, went to the closet and pulled out the few things still hanging there. A jacket. A dress. She didn't look at me, didn't say another word, just moved through the apartment like a hurricane, grabbing items, shoving them into a bag she pulled from under the bathroom sink. I watched from the doorway, arms crossed, waiting. She stopped at the door, hand on the knob, back to me. "He loves me," she said, voice shaking. "He actually loves me." "Then go be loved." She opened the door, stepped into the hall, turned back one last time. "You'll be alone, William. You'll die alone in this apartment." "Maybe," I said, "but at least I'll die honest." She left. The door slammed. The sound echoed through the apartment, through my chest, through the 25 years that just ended in a hallway at 3 a.m. I stood there, listening to her footsteps fade, listening to the building settle, listening to my own breathing. Then I locked the door, checked it twice, went back to the bedroom, lay down, and this time, I slept. I woke up at 6:30 a.m., light coming through the curtains, birds outside, the sound of traffic starting to build. Normal. Everything felt normal, except nothing was. I got up, made coffee, stood in the kitchen drinking it, looking at the empty spaces where her things used to be. A gap on the counter where her coffee maker sat, a bare spot on the wall where she'd hung a painting I never liked. The apartment looked bigger, cleaner, like someone had removed clutter I didn't know was weighing me down. I called a locksmith, told him I needed new locks by noon. He said he'd be there by 10. I thanked him, hung up, drank more coffee, waited. At 9:47 a.m., my phone rang. Unknown number. I answered. "Mr. William?" A woman's voice, professional, clipped. "Yes." "This is Patricia Hendricks. I'm an attorney. Your wife has retained my services. I'm calling to inform you that any attempts to remove her from the residence will be met with legal action. She has rights as a tenant and..." "She's not a tenant," I interrupted. "Her name isn't on the lease, isn't on the deed. She has no legal claim to this apartment." Silence, shuffling papers. "I'll need to verify that," the attorney said. Less confident now. "Verify whatever you want. I'm changing the locks today. She's welcome to take me to court, but she's not welcome here." I hung up. The locksmith arrived at 9:58. A young guy, efficient. He had the locks changed in 40 minutes, handed me 3 new keys. I paid him cash, tipped him extra. He left. I locked the door behind him, tested the new lock. Smooth. Solid. Final. My phone buzzed. A text. From her. "I have a lawyer. You can't do this." I didn't respond, blocked the number, deleted the thread, erased her like she'd tried to erase me. Then I sat down at the kitchen table, opened my notebook, and I started writing again. Not about her. Not about the betrayal. About what comes next. About the man I used to be before I became someone's husband. Someone's convenience. Someone's fool. I wrote about the things I wanted to do. Places I wanted to see. Projects I'd abandoned. Dreams I'd shelved. I wrote for 2 hours, filled 10 pages, and when I finally stopped, my hand was cramping, but my chest felt light. I heard a knock at the door, loud, insistent. I looked through the peephole. It was Marcus, the younger man, the one she chose. He looked angry, flushed, pacing in the hallway. He knocked again, harder. I opened the door. He started talking immediately. "You need to let her back in. She's a mess. You can't just throw her out like..." "I can," I said. And I did. "She loves you, man. She made a mistake. She loves you," I corrected. "She told me herself, so take care of her. That's your job now." He stared at me, mouth open, searching for words. He was younger, fitter, better hair. But standing there in my doorway, trying to defend a woman who'd used both of us, he looked small. "You're making a mistake," he said finally. "No," I said. "I'm correcting one." I closed the door, locked it, and walked away. 3 days passed before I heard from anyone in the family. 3 quiet, strange, unexpectedly peaceful days where I reorganized closets, fixed that crack in the ceiling, and slept better than I had in years. The apartment didn't feel empty. It felt clean. Like I'd been living in a cluttered attic my whole life and finally opened a window. On the fourth morning, my daughter called. Her name is Claire. She's 32, works in graphic design, has 2 kids I don't see enough. She's always been careful with her words, measured, like me. But when I answered the phone, I could hear something cracking in her voice. "Dad," she said. Just that. Just my name. And I knew she'd been crying. "I'm okay, sweetheart," I said before she could ask. "Are you?" She sniffed, trying to hold it together. "Because Mom called me. She's staying with Aunt Linda. She says you threw her out, changed the locks. Won't talk to her lawyer. Dad, what's going on?" I sat down at the kitchen table, the same table where we used to do homework together when she was 8, where I taught her to draw stars and hearts and houses with crooked chimneys. I wondered what that version of me would think of this version. Probably wouldn't recognize him. "Your mother made a choice," I said slowly. "She announced it in front of everyone at our anniversary. She wanted me gone. But the apartment is mine, so I made a choice too." Silence on the other end. Then a long exhale. "She told me about Marcus. Did she tell you it's been 3 years?" Another pause. Longer this time. "No. She said it was recent. That she just needed something different. That you two had grown apart." I almost laughed. Grown apart? Like we were plants in separate pots instead of 2 people who'd shared a bed for a quarter century. Like betrayal was just a natural process. Erosion. Entropy. "She's been lying to both of us, Claire. To all of us. I found a letter she wrote to him 3 years ago, while we were still pretending to be happy, while I was still thinking we had a future." I heard her breath hitch. "Dad, I'm so sorry." "Don't be sorry for me, I'm fine. Better than fine, actually." "You don't sound fine." "What do I sound like?" She hesitated, then quietly, "Free." That word hit me harder than anything her mother had said. Free. Was that what this was? I turned it over in my mind, tested the weight of it. Maybe she was right. Maybe freedom wasn't supposed to feel like relief. Maybe it was supposed to feel like stepping off a ledge and realizing you could fly. "Maybe I am," I said. We talked for another 20 minutes. She asked if I needed anything. Money, help, company. I told her I was okay. She didn't believe me, but she didn't push. Before we hung up, she said something that stuck with me. "Mom's not doing well, Dad. She keeps calling me, crying, saying she made a mistake, that she wants to come home. This isn't her home anymore." I know. I told her that. But she's not listening. "That's not my problem, Claire." Silence. Then softer. "I love you, Dad." "I love you too, sweetheart." After we hung up, I sat there staring at my phone. Part of me, some small, stupid part, wanted to call her, to ask if she was really okay, to offer some kind of bridge back. But I didn't, because I knew what that bridge would cost. My dignity, my peace, the fragile new life I was starting to build in the wreckage of the old one. I wasn't paying that price. Not anymore. 2 weeks later, the lawyer called again, Patricia Hendricks, the same clipped professional tone. But this time there was something else underneath it. Weariness, maybe. She told me her client, my wife, was willing to negotiate. She wanted to split assets, retirement accounts, savings. She was willing to forego the apartment if I agreed to a settlement. I listened, didn't interrupt. When she finished, I asked one question. "Does she need money?" The lawyer paused. "I'm not at liberty to discuss my client's financial situation." "That's a yes." Another pause. "Mr. William, my client contributed to this marriage for 25 years. She's entitled to what the law says she's entitled to. Nothing more. Send me the paperwork. I'll have my lawyer look at it." "You have a lawyer?" "I will by tomorrow." I hired a man named Peter Rost, mid-50s, bald, blunt, the kind of lawyer who didn't waste time on pleasantries or sympathy. He looked over the initial offer and laughed. Actually laughed. She wants 60% of your retirement and half your savings. For what? Lying to you for 3 years? Can she get it? Not if I have anything to say about it. You've got the apartment in your name, bought before marriage. That's separate property. Retirement and savings. We can argue she's entitled to some, but 60% not a chance. We went back and forth for 6 weeks. Emails, calls, revisions. Her lawyer tried to paint me as controlling, as financially abusive, as someone who'd isolated her and forced her into dependence. My lawyer dismantled every claim with bank statements and testimonies from people who'd seen us together. Friends, neighbors, our kids. In the end, she got 30% of the retirement and none of the savings. The apartment stayed mine, so did the car, so did my dignity. The day the settlement finalized, I got a text from an unknown number. I almost deleted it, but something made me open it. It was her, from a new phone. It said, "I hope you're happy, William. I hope this was worth it. Destroying everything we built." I stared at those words for a long time. Then I typed back, "I didn't destroy anything. I just stopped pretending the ruins were a home." I blocked the number, deleted the thread, and I felt nothing. Spring came. The city thawed. Trees bloomed. I started taking walks in the mornings, long ones, through the park, past the coffee shop where we used to go on Sundays, past the bookstore where she'd spend hours browsing and I'd sit in the corner reading. I didn't avoid those places. I reclaimed them, made new memories, better ones. I met a man named Colin at the park, older than me, 78, widower. We started walking together, talking. He told me about his wife, how she'd died 5 years ago, how he'd spent the first year angry, the second year numb, the third year learning to live again. "You don't get over it," he said one morning. "You just get through it, and on the other side you find out who you are without them." "Who are you?" I asked. He smiled, still figuring that out. I thought about that a lot. Who was I without her? For 25 years I'd been a husband, a partner, someone's other half. But now I was whole. Just me. William. Not grandpa. Not ex-husband. Just a man with a crack-free ceiling and a clean apartment and a second chance at a life he'd almost forgotten he wanted. I started painting again. Something I'd loved before we got married. Watercolors mostly. Landscapes. Abstract shapes. Nothing fancy. Just color and light and the feeling of creating something that didn't need to mean anything. I hung them on the walls, filled the spaces where her things used to be. The apartment stopped feeling like a museum of a failed marriage and started feeling like a home. 6 months after the divorce finalized, Claire called. "Dad, I have news." Good news or bad news? Depends on how you look at it. My stomach tightened. "Tell me." "Mom and Marcus broke up." I didn't say anything, just waited. She called me last night, said he left her for someone else, someone younger. She's devastated. I should have felt something. Vindication, maybe. Justice. Karma. But all I felt was tired. "I'm sorry she's hurting," I said. And I meant it. Not because I still loved her, but because I didn't hate her either. Hate takes energy. I didn't have any left to waste on her. "She wants to see you," Claire said quietly. "No." "Dad." "No, Claire, I'm not doing this. She made her choice. She has to live with it. I'm living with mine." She didn't argue, just sighed. "Okay. I understand." We talked about other things, her kids, her work, normal things. When we hung up, I felt lighter, like I'd passed some final test I didn't know I was taking. That night, I sat by the window with a cup of tea. Chamomile, same as that first night. The city lights blinked below, people moving through their lives. Some happy, some broken, some just surviving. I thought about the man I used to be, the one who stood in a ballroom holding cake and listening to his world collapse. He felt like a stranger now, someone I used to know, someone I'd outgrown. I thought about the microphone, the moment I took it, the moment I chose myself over peace. That was the moment everything changed. Not when she left. Not when I changed the locks. But when I stood up. When I spoke. When I stopped being invisible. I picked up my notebook, opened to a blank page, and I wrote one sentence. Today I started living again. I closed the notebook, finished my tea, and I smiled. Not because I was happy, not because I'd won, but because I'd survived. And survival, I'd learned, was its own kind of victory. The moral of this story isn't about revenge or justice or even closure. It's about knowing your worth, about refusing to let someone else's selfishness define your value. I spent 25 years being steady, being predictable, being the rock, and I thought that made me noble. But nobility without self-respect is just martyrdom, and martyrs don't get happy endings. They just get forgotten. So I chose a different ending, one where I got to be the protagonist of my own life, instead of a supporting character in hers. One where I got to decide what I deserved. And what I deserved wasn't cruelty or betrayal, or a lifetime of pretending I was enough for someone who'd already decided I wasn't. What I deserved was peace, and I found it. In an apartment with new locks and fresh paint and walls covered in watercolors that meant nothing and everything. In morning walks with a widower who understood loss. In phone calls with my daughter who called me free. I found it in the space between who I was and who I'm becoming. And that space, I'm learning, is where life actually happens. I'm reading and replying to every comment under this post. Tell me, have you ever had to choose yourself over someone you loved? How did it change you? And if this story meant something to you, if it reminded you that you're worth more than someone else's lies, then subscribe. Because there are more stories like this. More truths that need telling. More people who need to know they're not alone in the wreckage. Hit that subscribe button. Not for me. For you. For the next time you need to remember that walking away isn't giving up. It's waking up. And sometimes waking up is the bravest thing you'll ever do.